Those bodies in the coffin. Those bodies in the coffin. Those bodies that are now the culinary delight of terrestrial worms. Yes, why? Because at that particular moment, the three dimensions of time are brought together, past, present, and future, especially in a civilization so obsessed with futurity that shuns the past and views the future as simply a repetition of the present. It doesn't want to view that future as qualitatively different, forcing us to interrogate the most fundamental and basic institutional and structural arrangements, just everybody fitting in, even as things become more colorful among the middle and upper middle classes and well-to-do, but the class hierarchy is still in place. Your imperial policy still in place, off the top, though not always. What does it really mean to be human? Well, you see, when you actually look at the history of spirituals, oh Lord, how come I born here? So Sophoclean in insight. Or the blues, a jazz, a rhythm and blues, and yes, even they remind us that we are fundamentally two-legged, linguistically, two-legged. Let me say that again. I want you to get this point. I want you to get this point. That we are fundamentally two-legged, featherless, linguistically conscious creatures born between urine and feces. You see, that's the discourse of the funk. Head of Supreme Court of South Carolina. Fascinating attempt to see whether, in fact, American democracy could become a multiracial democracy. And we're still not even dealing with the vicious legacy of male supremacy, let alone class hierarchy. But to create a multiracial democracy in light of Lincoln's vision after he changed his mind. Yet by 1877, you all know the story, the Confederacy lost the war, but white supremacy won the peace. Institutional terrorism sets Jim Crow, Jane Crow, American barbarism. 51 years, every 2.5 days, some black child, black woman, black man hanging from some tree. Strange fruit the southern trees bear that Billie Holiday sang so beautifully about. Just at the moment when America is constituting itself as a transcontinental empire with Guam, Cuba, Philippines, Hawaii. Just at the moment when Europe's poor begin to make their way into the cheap labor markets of the United States to help facilitate the economic takeoff of the country. Legacy of white supremacy, immobilizing these people, sharecroppers, day laborers, tenant farmers, peonage, limitless debt. Well, in many ways the most un-American condition, inability to move. America's all about mobility, staying on the move, right? Emerson says everything good is on the highway. Well, that's quintessentially American. Henry Ford even made it more explicit. These folk locked in, wrestling with civic death, no rights, limited liberty in the land of liberty. And it would take nearly 80 years to hit the legacy of white supremacy head on. And I want to say something to young people about the 1960s. This is very important. 1950s and 60s. Because so much of the debate about race these days has to do with one's interpretation of the 1960s. And of course, the 60s cannot be understood unless it's understood against the backdrop of Jim Crow, Jane Crow, going back to 1877, the 12 years, and then of course 244 years of slavery in America, and the 79 years with America as a democratic republic. The 60s was not a period in which the vast majority of young people were flying high in the friendly skies, obsessed with rock music at Woodstock, though some of that certainly went on. Cannot be denied. Nor was the 60s a time in which one man led one movement that broke the back of American apartheid. Martin Luther King Jr., who is now celebrated every January, oftentimes by those who, not just critical of him, had deep hostility toward him in the 1960s when his body was still moving in space and time.